because it's just sad. I mean, this just shows the kind of organization, the culture that exists, and I don't want to be a part of this culture. Recruiters are not the only ones that you can connect with. There are also hiring managers, and obviously, because you've interacted with the people that you've interviewed with. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ruchika and I'm a recruiter with Microsoft. I have been a recruiter for about 9 years now, so it's been a fairly long time for me interacting with the student community and with job seekers. And I intend to do it more and more because I know that, they need all the help and support as they, go along finding their dream jobs or whatever it is that they need in terms of being successful in life. So this is just a small attempt in helping this community, because I myself was part of this community a couple of years back. I was a job seeker, I was a student, and I would have loved if there was some kind of guidance coming my way. So I thought, why not let me start like a trend, if you may. But it's not a trend, it's more to do with, there is this need, and how you practice empathy. And in the same way, I thought, if I can probably share my insights and my experience with people, I'm sure that it will help them, land their dream job. So this is just a small attempt. I hope you like my videos. There are some videos that I've done previously as well. The links to all of that is in the description below. Take your time and go through it. All right. So this brings me to today's video, which is a very interesting one. And it's something that is quite the talk of the town, I would say. A lot of people have so many things to, share when it comes to ghosting, which HRs do or recruiters do. And I kind of see my LinkedIn page filled with, people who have had like bad experiences with ghosting. So I thought, why not make something on the lines of, what ghosting is, why does ghosting happen, and how do you navigate or how do you tackle ghosting? So with that, let's get into it. Okay. So the most interesting question is, what exactly is ghosting? So ghosting is nothing but where somebody ignores you. And I don't mean somebody, but maybe an HR ignores you or a recruiter ignores you for a fairly long time. And ghosting is the worst, I can tell you, because I have been a victim of ghosting a couple of times as well, because obviously, I was a job seeker a couple of years back. And it was horrible. It was horrible. And for me, I think it was quite interesting, because I've had two very different experiences with ghosting, and I'll quickly share what those experiences were. So the first experience that I'd like to share was a couple of years back. I was looking for a job opportunity, and I had to move from Hyderabad to Bangalore. I remember that I had, appeared for a couple of rounds of interviews for one particular company, which was virtual. I was in Hyderabad and the organization was in Bangalore. And then I think inevitably they decided to call me to Bangalore to appear for the in-person interviews. And I did travel. They told me that, you need to book your tickets immediately. I had to travel the next day, which meant that the tickets were pretty expensive. They said that they'll reimburse my tickets, and I was fine with it. I booked my tickets, I traveled, I gave like 10 rounds of interviews. And then I remember that I came back after the interviews were over. I was promised that, they'll get back to me as soon as possible. It looked very positive. So I was absolutely confident that I've got it. So I've come back, and I do not hear from the recruiter for like a week. And I'm just a little worried as to what happened, because I thought it was positive. But then again, I reach out to the recruiter, there is no response. And almost after a month, I was like, okay, let me, probably give them some space, give them some time. I did reach out to them after a month, and finally they decided to kind of tell me that, oh, okay, we are not going ahead with your profile. I was like, fine, that's fine. That's their decision. And, while I was responding to that email, I realized, oh, they had to reimburse me for the tickets because they were fairly expensive. And at that point in time, I wasn't making much, I'll be honest. So, I did respond to them and ask them, these tickets were something that I had booked. Would you be reimbursing it? And there was no response. and that was like really brutal because I had spent quite a bit on those tickets, and the organization doesn't even bother reimbursing it. I followed up once, and then I was like, chuck it. I don't want to do this more because it's just sad. I mean, this just shows the kind of organization, the culture that exists, and I don't want to be a part of this culture. So I mean, I think even till date, that organization is like blacklisted in my list of organizations. And I think if given the opportunity in future as well, I'll never work there because of the bad experience that I've had. This brings me to the second experience, which is pretty interesting because I remember this was around the same time I was interviewing with another organization. And I interviewed, I kind of completed all of the rounds of interviews with them. I think there were 5 or 6 rounds. And, again, there was like a no response phase and whatever, the ghosting phase that I experienced, and no response from recruiter. I kept on following. I think I did about 3 follow-ups and there was no response. And it was almost after a month. I was like, chuck it. I had forgotten about the interview as well. I was like, not happening. That's fine. I'll probably try elsewhere. And after about a month and a half, I think after about 6 weeks since I interviewed, I got a text from the recruiter saying that, hey, Ruchika, something has just opened up in another team, and we're wondering if you would be interested. And at that point in time, I'll be honest, I was a little desperate to get into a new job or a new organization. So I was like, yeah, that's fine. You can schedule me. And she told me that the first question I had is, do I have to go through all the rounds of interviews? Because 6 rounds is fairly long. So she said, no, you don't have to go through all the rounds, just one round with a very senior person, and that's it. And I was like, fine, that's okay. So she scheduled me quickly for that final round, and that's it. I got the offer. I joined the organization as well. So that's like my experience with ghosting, and I thought I'll share that with you to set some context on why ghosting happens and what actually means about what goes into ghosting, and how people can navigate ghosting. So let's get into why does ghosting happen. Now, there are various reasons for why ghosting happens, and I don't want to get into all of them. But some of the reasons that I am privy to and why ghosting happens is the number one reason, of course, is sometimes positions go on hold. So, and it happens a lot of times. Organizations realize that they probably don't have the budget for a new hire or a new person in the team. And so, they kind of put a hold on that job, that hiring, and which means that the recruiter cannot really proceed any further with any of the rounds of interviews because there is no budget to bring in a new person. And this is pretty common. A lot of organizations do that. And again, the reason why you don't hear from the recruiter is because they themselves don't know what's happening at the back end. What if the budget kind of kicks in maybe in another 2 or 3 weeks, and if probably the recruiter informs you that, there is this budget problem or whatever. If they do that, you probably would not be interested in the opportunity anymore. I know that it's like a sad version of a keep warm strategy, but it is. It's some way of keeping in contact while not keeping in contact with the candidate. And I know it's a very bad way of doing it, but yeah, a lot of recruiters do that because they don't want to miss out on that candidate. Sometimes, recruiters do inform the candidates. They kind of connect with them. They tell them that, this is the scene, we'll get back to you. And then inevitably nothing happens, and, there's no budget. So hiring does not happen or hiring does not take place. So that's one of the reasons. Okay, so this brings me to the second reason why recruiters ghost candidates. And the second reason is sometimes when they create a pipeline, a sourcing pipeline of candidates or a candidate pipeline, there is probably someone who's already identified or already probably, kind of rolled out the offer too. But there is like a waiting period of about, depending on whatever their notice period is. Now, in that time, supposing the person declines the offer, which means that the recruiter has to go back into their different sourcing channels and pull out candidates and do the entire process all over again. Now that takes time. So what they do essentially is they keep like a backup option. If supposing this particular candidate declines, they don't have to go and source additional candidates. They can just completely go back look at the candidates who've already been interviewed and just reach out to them and, probably schedule them for maybe 1 or 2 rounds, depending if, if there needs to be a round. And if not, they probably just want to go ahead and they, roll out the offer. So this is another strategy which recruiters do to ensure that they don't have to go ahead and source, candidates all over again, because it's just time consuming, right? The third reason is why kind of recruiters ghost candidates. And this is actually the truth, because I'm a recruiter. I have done some kind of lateral recruitment as well as stretch projects, and I know how difficult it is to keep a track of all the candidates that you meet, is because there are too many people that you are interacting with. Now imagine interacting with maybe 15 to 20 people on a daily basis. You're calling them, you're scheduling them for interviews, you're working with the hiring managers, you're getting feedback. There is a lot going on, in their lives at the back end. And so it gets very difficult for them to keep a track of every candidate. And I don't mean this, as a disrespect, or I'm not saying that it is their job to make sure that they provide feedback. They try and do the best they can with, the limited time that they have, with the limited resources they have. And it just gets a little difficult, going into individual feedback, pulling out those individual feedbacks and, sharing it with each of the candidates. So, it's something wherein there is a gap, but I can say that most organizations are actually investing in, some great ATS now, which basically means that, through the ATS, they can actually let the candidate know that, their profile or their candidature is not going ahead in the interview process anymore. So it's like an automatic thing that they are generating. And I'm sure that there's like more investment that will happen in that space. But when it does, I'm sure that technology is evolving as well. But till then, we have to kind of live with this gap. But with that, I think all of the things that I've just shared with you, it's very interesting because I myself, like I said, I've been ghosted in the past. And while it was not a, a brilliant experience, I've had like a positive and a negative experience with ghosting. In one, I kind of lost like a couple of thousands because of the expenditure that I had to do of traveling, to a different location. And in the other, I actually came out with a job offer in hand. So it totally depends on how you tackle ghosting. And I'm going to share a couple of tips on how to tackle ghosting. So the first thing that you need to do when you get the feeling that you're getting ghosted is wait for about a week after your interview is done. Make sure that you reach out to the recruiter 3 times after the ghosting starts happening or after you feel that you're getting ghosted. The first time that you reach out to them should be 1 week after your interview. It should be a normal follow-up email with, basically your details. Try and mention the people that you were interviewed by, and just kind of, ask for a status update on, where the hiring process is. You can let them know that, this is my availability. If there are any further rounds, you can go ahead and you can schedule it as per this particular availability, and I'm available on this number or email ID or whatever. So it's a very, subtle way of asking for, okay, so what's next? So this is the first one. The second reminder that you send them is probably after, another week. You wait for another week, and if there is no response from them, you just send them another reminder. And in that, you probably, just kind of ask them. I think by then you probably would estimate, if it is a negative or a positive feedback. And you can just let them know that, I was waiting for a status update. And if in case it is negative, if you can just let me know, my feedback, that will help me kind of work on the problem areas or, that I need to kind of focus on. And just put the names of the interviewers that you have interviewed with, the technical rounds or whatever that you have done. Put that so it's easier for the recruiter to, even if they have to go and fetch that feedback in, from their emails, or if, that feedback is on the tool somewhere, they can go and do that and provide you with that feedback. So just make sure that you take that first step in asking for relevant feedback on the interviews that you have given. And even if you do not hear from them the second time after second follow-up, send them a last email after 3 weeks from your interview and attach your resume in that. Probably if you can just share your relevant experience and all of those details, your expertise, your skills, etc., etc., and let them know that I'm still open, or I'm looking for a job opportunity, and I'd love to explore if there are any relevant opportunities that come up in the future. You can keep me in mind. These are my contact details. And you just basically, you're not kind of disconnecting from the recruiter immediately. So you just provide them, with all of that information, one last time, and let them know that you're still looking out, for that opportunity. And it's okay if something comes up in the future, they can reach out to you. So these 3 steps will really help you, still be in contact with recruiters after the hiring process is over, and you probably will still be like their top of mind if you do that. In addition to this, there is also one more very important thing that you need to keep in mind. Recruiters are not the only ones that you can connect with. There are also hiring managers, and obviously because you've interacted with the people that you've interviewed with, you can most definitely reach out to them on LinkedIn. Just send them a connection and maybe a thank you note, saying that, thank you for taking the time to interview me. It was a great experience. I learned a lot about the organization. And while I know that, things did not work out this time, I do hope that, you would consider me for any future hiring or future opportunities that might come up in your team. And let's stay connected, and thank you for your time. And that's it. So just keep a connection, not just with recruiters, but also with, the people that you have interacted with during the hiring process, because it's essential, it's important that you keep that contact going. You never know. Probably there is like, an opportunity in their team or one of the teams in the people who have interviewed you. You could be probably their top of mind, and they just probably want to kind of consider you for that opportunity. So just make sure that you are top of mind for those people, and LinkedIn is a great way to kind of keep that connection going. So I hope that all of my content that I've just shared and all of the information that I've shared helps you, and helps you navigate ghosting, because I know ghosting is the most awful thing ever. But it's not something that recruiters do on purpose. I'm a recruiter. I can vouch for it. It's just that there's so much that is going on. They don't intend to do it, and they try their best to make sure that they don't do it that often. But still, there are sometimes, there are it is missed at times, and I don't want to take anybody's side, but yeah, these are some of the ways that you can actually navigate ghosting, and make sure that you are top of mind for that organization or for that recruiter or even the hiring manager, even after you've been ghosted. So with that, I come to the end of this podcast. I hope that my information that I've shared and the experience that I've shared helps you, and it definitely helps you land a dream job someday. So thank you so much for watching. Do like, share, and subscribe. If you have any questions on ghosting, you can put them in the comment section below. I'll be happy to answer them. Till then, stay home and stay safe. Take care. Bye.